Okay, welcome everyone. This is Josh Weinstein for the Running with the Mind 10K training program. And we have our mindful running coach, Marty Kibolowski. And today, the topic of conversation is aerobic or endurance versus anaerobic or speed training. So Marty, could you tell us a little bit about the difference between these two types of training regimens?
Thanks, Josh. I'm glad you asked that question because knowing the difference between anaerobic and aerobic training is very beneficial in trying to have the best performance you possibly can have, whether it's in a 10K, a 5K, half marathon, or a marathon. In simple terms, aerobic training is really the endurance training. Aerobic meaning you're doing it with plenty of oxygen. There's no lack of oxygen, so you're not in any sort of deficit. Anaerobic is the opposite. Speed, the amount of work that you're doing, the rate at which your muscles are working and your circulatory system is working, you're actually exceeding the amount of oxygen your body can take in. So in simple terms, that's the difference between the two. But so what? How does that help me with my training? Well, science shows that most of your training should be aerobic and not anaerobic. You will improve much faster with aerobic training. Think of it this way. If you do speed work, speed training, science shows that somewhere around 6 to 8 weeks of that during the entire year, you maximize that portion of your capability. With aerobic training or endurance training, there's essentially no limit. Your endurance will grow and grow and grow and grow as long as you're consistent. And so you stay with it and it builds over time. Now, if you're inconsistent with endurance training, because of illness, or you just take a week off, or you get injured and are forced to take time off, you have to start where you left off, and actually you decline in your aerobic fitness by taking time off, and then you have to get back to where you were, and then you can build from there. But it is essentially unlimited what you could do. Okay, that's good information, but how do I incorporate that in my training, and how do I know if I'm aerobic training or anaerobic training? What's the difference between the not speed and the speed? How do I know? Well, of course, if you're sprinting, that's speed, no problem there. It's really that fine line in between. And I would say a couple of things about that. One is if you can be doing exercise and have a full conversation without having to breathe like this in order to speak to someone, then you're in the aerobic zone. If you're breathing so hard that you can't speak clearly, like I just demonstrated, then you're anaerobic. So that's a real nice anecdotal way to know aerobic or anaerobic. Another way to do it is with the heart rate monitor. Everyone's heart rate is different, but typically something under 150 beats per minute is going to be aerobic. For some people, it may need to be as low as 130. But somewhere between 130 and 150, I find most people 140, 145. If you notice, if you have a heart rate monitor, I'm moving along, I can have a conversation. I may over time get a little more tired. That's normal, but I'm not gasping for air in any way. And so that's aerobic-based training. And if I was to train someone on an annual basis, my suggestion would be, let's pick 2 times during the year you want to peak performance. Maybe it's in the fall and maybe it's in the spring, or maybe it's in the fall, maybe it's in the summer, but not in the same season. So two separate seasons, two separate times during the course of the year. And what we would do is 6 to 8 weeks before the performance, we would work on speed. All the other time, nothing but aerobic exercise. So this is the benefit of going out and just running slow. You don't have to run fast. Running fast potentially puts you into the anaerobic mode, which I've just explained to you is not helpful long-term for endurance running. Because what happens is once you do 6 or 8 weeks of it, you're not going to improve, and your risk of injury goes up, your risk of illness goes up, and because you're more tired. So it's really not helpful. So we don't want to do that. So other than 6 to 8 weeks prior to the peak performance, the rest of the time is all aerobic exercise. One thing about aerobic-based training is your pace doesn't really matter. Some people think, wow, if I'm going too slow, then that's not going to be beneficial to me. That's not true. Whether you're running at 8 minutes per mile or 9 minutes per mile or 10 minutes per mile or 12 minutes per mile, you get the exact same benefit from an aerobic-based training. So feel free to slow down. It's totally fine. As a matter of fact, by slowing down, maybe you'll enjoy it more because it's less arduous on you. And you make sure you stay in that aerobic zone. Because if you're slowing down in your pace, and say you're going to run a 5-mile run, let's say, or a 3 or 4-mile run, whatever it is, it just takes you a little bit longer to do it than if you were to run at a faster pace. But you still get the same aerobic benefit. That's a little bit of a misconception out there. And when I first came to Boulder, and I was still a competitive runner training for the half marathon and marathon and the 10K, very fast paces, I was able to run one time with Rick Rojas. He's the former American record holder in the half marathon. He won the first Boulder road race that was held here in Boulder. And he's a national cross-country champion. So quite a pedigree, this guy. So long story short, I was able to go for a run with him. And I was nervous about it. It's like, how am I going to keep up with this guy? So I go to run with him, and it's one of his easy days. And this was when a 7-minute mile was very aerobic for me, very easy. And he was running 8 and 9-minute miles. This is a guy who's a former world record holder. And I asked Rick, why do you run so slow? I mean, I'm glad you did, because I could keep up with you. He said, because I don't need to run faster. I'm doing aerobic-based training today. And so by going slower, I give my body an opportunity to rest. I get the same benefit as if I was going at a faster pace. And it allows me to recover from my speed training that I did 2 days ago. So I share that with you because it applies to everyone.
That's great. Thank you, Marty. Well, just one thing I'd like to add is that in terms of, resources for people that are training in this program, if you want help with aerobic training, I would recommend joining the Running with the Mind community and using our resources to just encourage the consistency of your running, because that's what's going to support your aerobic training. Yeah. And if you do want to work on anaerobic training and increase your speed, then I would encourage you to contact us and set up coaching, one-on-one coaching with Marty, because the anaerobic training is very specific, and you won't be able to create a useful regimen from this program for speed training. Is there anything else you want people to know about that, Marty?
The other thing I would say is that in addition to the anaerobic and aerobic training, one of the things that I would help you with, or we could talk about, is the actual running form. And I think we're going to have a lesson on this. Yeah. Because your running form can increase your efficiency. And by increasing your efficiency, you automatically increase your speed. And believe it or not, you add to your endurance, because if you're running more efficiently, then you can go farther and faster with the same level of endurance. So there's real benefit to that. The other thing that happens with speed training, not only does it increase your speed, but believe it or not, it increases your efficiency. Because when we push our bodies to go faster, it automatically makes adjustments in your shoulders and in your arms, because you're asking your body to go faster. And it's an amazing machine that will adapt, and you can actually increase your form through the speed training. But we don't want to do speed training all the time because of the risk associated with injury and overtraining and those types of things. So there's a real balance to be had here. So if you were going to be safe, then stick with aerobic training. If you don't mind, Josh, one other quick story I'll tell about this is that when I turned 40, there's a whole competition for masters runners, those are people 40 and over, and I wanted to run a fast mile. I was hoping to run 4:30 in the mile, which is something I did in high school, but I wanted to be able to do it when I was in my 40s. So in order to prepare for this, I did 1 year of nothing but aerobic-based training. Nice, relaxed pace. I was running 5 days a week, consistently, week after week, going slow enough that I wouldn't be injured or sick, so I could maintain that consistency. My endurance kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Then I entered a race without any speed work at all. So I just wanted to get a kind of a baseline. What could I run the mile in now? Well, I ran that race, And I was pleasantly surprised that all that aerobic-based training had prepared me to have plenty of endurance. One of the keys to running a fast mile is being able to keep up a certain pace for all 4 laps around the track. So endurance plays a big role in the mile, even though it's a short race. Then I did speed work for 5 weeks, came back to the track, and my time improved 4 seconds. That's it. So there's the value of aerobic-based training.
That's great. That's great. Well, that was also a great lead into our next lesson.